Just so you know that our quorum is to please state your name and your residence now for the record. And normally we're 3 minutes, but tonight we're giving a gracious 4. So if you could just please honor that as much as you can.
Hold on a second, Mr. Acting Chairman.
Yes.
This is now just going to be Fenimore. There will not be anything else, because he asked if there was any further discussion besides Fenimore, and people said no, so we're not going to reopen.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now your time to start.
My name is Myrna Hernandez, and I live in Roxbury. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Just as a background for those of you who aren't up to date, in 2011, the DP designated about 100 acres in the town of Roxbury on Mooney Mountain as a brownfield. The Highlands Council then approved an exemption, number 15, based on the DP's recommendations. We believe this was erroneous, as the facilities there, the facilities eligible for such an exemption are only Israel facilities, of which this is not. The DEP then proceeded to launch the proposed landfill to solar energy plan by allowing a convicted felon to operate the landfill and failed to properly oversee the procedures, allowing C&D materials, which is construction and demolition debris materials that contain wallboard that have been known for years to cause environmental problems. The DEP allowed this felon to continue with its plan and did not have all the proper procedures in place. Despite the town and residents also asking a judge to stop this problem, the judge ignored it and allowed it to go on for months. Finally, because we have hydrogen sulfide in our environment, the Roxbury Township residents appealed to the state legislature and were able to attend what we thought was relief when the legislature passed the Special Landfill Closure Act last summer. The Landfill Closure Act allowed the DEP to take over the landfill from Richard Bernardi, who was the convicted felon who was operating the landfill. But what happened was the DEP Commissioner, Bob Martin, released an emergency order that sought only to end the smell associated with hydrogen sulfide and not the actual toxic environment that was created in the landfill. This issue to us is not about the smell, it's about toxins in the air, not all of which have associated odors, such as hydrogen sulfide, which is much more dangerous than
sulfur dioxide.
Sulfur dioxide, which is much more dangerous than hydrogen sulfide. It is also a concern for the many residents who reside downhill from the mountain and rely on wells fed by streams that run beneath the illegal waste in the landfill. It's also a concern on a much wider scale, since these streams are connected to Drake's Brook, which itself feeds into the southern branch of the Raritan River watershed, which we know is a water source for over 1.3 million New Jersey residents. For 2 years straight, these waters have tested at a score of 18 out of 30 and have been deemed moderately impaired. For waters that feed into a water source for residents, these scores should be at 28 out of 30. Now, while many parts of Section 81 of the Highlands Act are addressed to the department, that is the DEP, Section 81K specifically does not limit its application solely to the DEP, but states plainly and in pertinent part that notwithstanding any provision of this section, all remediation standards and remedial actions that involve real property located in the Highlands Preservation Area shall be consistent with the provision of the Highlands Act and any rules and regulations of the Regional Master Plan. In one of your own resolutions today, it was stated Sections 38 through 82 of the Highlands Act amends numerous statutes of state agencies, including the DEP, that was my addendum, to specifically require coordinated action to implement the Regional Master Plan, and requires consultation between the Highlands Council and state agencies to ensure that the Regional Master Plan is considered prior to state agency action. And he stated, whereas Sections 16 and 17 of the Highlands Act respectively authorize the Highlands Council to review capital or other proposed project to be undertaken by any state entity or local government unit, and to review a final local government unit approval, rejection, or approval with conditions.
Should wrap up soon.
Yes, I am. The township continues to suffer. Even today, this very day, playing fields were consistently reading at 10 to 13 parts per billion of hydrogen sulfide. This is where children are playing baseball and having practices. This number is 8 to 9 times the acceptable EPA 1.4 parts per billion that is the reference concentration for chronic exposure to hydrogen sulfide for adults. We ask that you assert your legally granted powers and hold the DEP accountable under the Highlands Act. We also ask that the council petition the state legislature to make an amendment to the Landfill Closure Act to clarify and effectuate oversight over the DEP. The DEP can and will continue to act aggressively and with impunity throughout the state at other landfills if this is the precedent the council is setting today. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. My name is Dave Pfeiffer. I'm Project Director for the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions. I'm here to speak about Fenimore landfill and the actions this council has taken with regard to that property. You're going to hear a lot of very professional testimony from residents tonight. What I'm going to suggest to you is that the situation and the conditions on that landfill have changed dramatically since this council granted it redevelopment area status in its previous ruling. I would make a strong request to you to rescind that redevelopment area status until and if and when there's a no further action letter from the Department of Environmental Protection on that landfill. Right now, we have a terrible problem, a problem that, frankly, you want to roll up your windows when you drive down Route 80. Okay. And I saw that landfill in 1979 when it was closed, and the Environmental Commission of Roxbury advised the town at that time that there were potentially serious environmental problems on that site. So whatever Richard Bernardi has done may not be the entire tale. I will tell you that there is water pollution, there is erosion, and those things are ongoing and have been ongoing since the landfill was operational in 1979. I think it would be a simple matter for this council to remove the redevelopment area status. However the cleanup proceeds, it should be allowed to proceed. At some point in the future, when that landfill is recognized as clean, you may redesignate it as a redevelopment area. And I think that would be the best thing for the council and the best thing for the situation, given your limited authority in this area. So I thank you for your time, and I hope you'll take my suggestion to heart, and that perhaps we can have some action on this by the next council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Somebody who hasn't spoken from the public?
Good evening. My name is Ken Collins, and I'm from Andover, New Jersey. And I'm here to talk to you about something that's extremely serious and having a disastrous effect on the community in the Highlands in a very large geographic area. And if you're not sure of the geographic area, NJDEP has published you a map, which is available on their website. You can go to njdep. Their website /Fenimore, and you can find this map that will show you the affected area. The current DEP proposed remediation for Fenimore is illegal. They are overstepping the scope of the DEP Bob Martin issued emergency order. The will of an appointed official will never supersede the letter of the Highlands Act law. They were brought in to only abate the toxic gas emissions, and they are infringing on the Highlands Council's rights and duty to have jurisdiction over the final capping process. You all should be intimately familiar with the letter of the law of the Highlands Act, which makes it so. The DEP granted a Highlands exemption that was incorrectly never challenged by the Highlands Council. Rather than scrutinize the application for the waiver, it was accepted with many of the items being marked incomplete. Relying on this exemption for protection and decision-making is improper. The DEP has incorrectly stated that the closure of Fenimore landfill qualifies for exemption number 15 under the Highlands Act. Thus, the landfill closure is not addressed by the Highlands Council consistency determination and final recommendation report. But the Fenimore landfill does not qualify for exemption number 15. By the clear language of the Highlands Act, exemption number 15 of the Highlands Act applies only to facilities regulated by the Industrial Site Recovery Act, otherwise known as ISRA. Fenimore landfill is not and never has been an ISRA facility, so the DEP's current landfill closure and remediation plan cannot be conducted pursuant to ISRA and is therefore not exempt under exemption number 15. This allows you, the Highlands Council, to declare that the current DEP plan is inconsistent with the Highlands Act and Regional Master Plan. Section 81K of the Highlands Act supports this by requiring all DEP remediation, including landfill closure, be consistent with the Highlands Act and Regional Master Plan, with the exception of real ISRA sites exempted under number 15. The law states, all remediation standards and remedial actions that involve real property located in the Highlands Preservation Area shall be consistent with the provisions of the Highlands Water Protection and Planning Act, and any rules and regulations in the Highland Regional Master Plan adopted pursuant thereto. We were told in the DEP's public presentation that the closure plan is issued pursuant to the Solid Waste Management Act and other remedial laws cited in Section 81. The DEP's consultant presentation specifically noted the regulatory basis for the closure plan. There are federal 40 CFR 258.60 and state NJAC 7:26-2A regulations that govern landfill closure. The state landfill closure regulations are adopted by the DEP pursuant to the NJ Solid Waste Management Act. This means the DEP itself agrees on the Highlands Act as incontrovertible law. Under Section 81 of the Highlands Act, that DEP landfill closure plan must be reviewed by the Highlands Council for consistency with the Regional Master Plan. The Highlands Act exemption number 15 applied by the Highlands Council is clearly invalid. In contrast, the clear language of Section 81 was written to give the Highlands Council review powers over remediating landfill sites in the Highlands. Any site in the Highlands that uses more than 50,000 gallons of water per day needs a special permit under the Highlands Act. This is part of the water anti-degradation rules. We're told that the Fenimore landfill site will generate 60,000 gallons of wastewater a day. The emergency order does not give the DEP the right to ignore state law. The DEP's current plan cannot yet verifiably demonstrate that it complies with the surface and groundwater non-degradation policy of the Highlands Act, as well as DEP's own surface and groundwater quality standards. Roxbury's injunction against the DEP was unsuccessful because they were not adversarial and did not object to the digging of new extraction wells. Now that the wells are in place abating the gas, a new injunction to prevent final capping that is not consistent to the Regional Master Plan should be sought by the Highlands Council. The gas abatement is temporary under the emergency order, but the final cap will be forever.
You need to wrap up soon.
I'm almost done. To secure an injunction and ultimately have the SEP material trucked out so that Highlands and its waters are protected under the case law Crow versus DeGioia, the following 4 points are relevant for appealing in court. Stopping the geomembrane and capping of the C&D material in places necessary to prevent irreparable harm concerning ensuring our health and property values while having the best long-term remediation solution for the environment, not just the easiest or cheapest. Our underlying claims that the Highlands Council and Highlands Act has jurisdiction via the Regional Master Plan over the final cap is supported by the letter of the law along with the newer legacy landfill regulations concerning municipal review. The need for an injunction and having the Highlands Council assume jurisdiction outweighs any monetary hardships the DEP would suffer, which most likely will be compared to our more serious suffering of health-related issues. Roxbury's public interest is fully implicated through these health issues and the degradation of our community. The above facts demonstrate the pathway to an injunction and are solid grounds to pursue such for the good of Roxbury and the entire Highlands Preservation Area. For the record, I am formally requesting that the Highlands Council assert jurisdiction, if necessary in court, over the DEP landfill closure plan pursuant to Section 81 authority cited above, and request they conduct a formal consistency review to the Regional Master Plan, which leads to the only proper remediation option of removing all of the offending material. And I'm going to submit copies for all of you of what I just read to you. And two copies of the Brownfield and Contaminated Site Remediation Act that I cited, in case you're not familiar with it. And also a copy of the map from DEP.
We need to wrap up. We're well beyond our
And
time.
some photographs of the streams and water bodies running through Fenimore Land. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Somebody else would like to make comments? Erica, we'll give you an opportunity to speak on the Fenimore issue since you weren't able to speak on that earlier. But I want to give everybody else a chance first since you've had a turn. Anybody else on Fenimore? Yes, ma'am. Just again, please state your name and your residence for the record, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm Maureen Loosler. I live in Ledgewood, 1,200 feet from the landfill. And I don't have a lot of technical information to give you. I'm not prepared to do that today. I could, but if I have 4 minutes. First of all, I'd like to demonstrate to you the Fenimore landfill cough. I'm sure you've heard the coughing back there. When I moved here 3.5 years ago, I was a healthy woman. I'm not a healthy woman anymore. I've got a lot of very severe health effects from living 1,200 feet from this landfill. When I lived in Morristown, before Mr. Doherty was mayor, I walked all over Morristown. I campaigned for some of his buddies there, and I walked all over Morristown. Now I can barely make it up that hill to come in here. You should know that this landfill is severely toxic to the health of the residents, and especially the children. They're lower to the ground, H2S gets to them quicker, they bring more of it into their lungs. They also, when they're outside playing, more into their lungs. This was a terrible mistake that you made, and I hope that you can rectify it, because otherwise you've basically undone the health of 23,000 people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I have time up here, but I'll give it to you.
Anybody else like to make comments? Yes, ma'am, please.
Hi, Brenda Isherwood, Succothon, New Jersey. I live in Roxbury Township. I did not prepare a speech. I'm speaking from being a lifetime resident, 2 miles as the crow flies from Fenimore landfill, which should now be called the SEP DEP dump. Because I used to swim in Ledgewood Basin in the 70s when the township employed lifeguards, and the Ledgewood Basin, a small pond at the bottom of the dump, was still safe to swim in. I wouldn't stick my toe in there now. This is a travesty, what has happened. There have been many wrongs that have been done. No one wants to place blame per se. If we can get this fixed, if we can have those wrongs undone and righted. I've lived in town since 1960. When the dump was basically abandoned, it was not a problem. It had not been a problem until laws were changed, designations were changed. Again, I'm not a technical person. And things were allowed to happen. The DEP allowed, what they allowed SCP to bring in was not supposed to be brought in. And that's the main 99, I would presume, cause of our problem. All we're asking for is that what was brought in illegally be brought back out.
Legally.
You make amends when you do things wrong in life. And there will be more than 23,000 Roxbury residents affected, because based on whatever way the wind's blowing that day, it's been detected 3-4 towns away. And it is going and is affecting the groundwater. The Ledgewood Basin spills right into Drake's Brook and then into the Raritan River. So anyone that lives in these surrounding counties better test their water probably, I don't know, every week. And I thank you very much, and I request that, like everyone else that has been up here in regards to the Fenimore landfill, that you do whatever needs to be done to undo the injustices that have been done to all of us, New Jersey. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more speakers? Erica, it's your
Thank you. I won't repeat what has already been said by the residents of Roxbury. I just wanted to echo what Dave Piper of Anjec said and what we said in 2011 when this redevelopment designation was first brought to the council, that it should have been a priority to focus on the remediation of this landfill and before the redevelopment was discussed. As you know from the comments that have already been said today, the remediation was not given the attention it deserved, and now the residents of Roxbury and the surrounding communities and all the water users that rely on the south branch of the Raritan River are suffering because of it. I want to bolster the comments of these residents in asking that the council now step up and use the authority that you've been granted from the state to help rectify this situation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Schultz. I live in Succothana, and I'm the president of REACT, which is the local grassroots organization that has been fighting the Fenimore landfill for the last 16 months. What has happened up there is a travesty. I've lived in Roxbury for 15 years. I lived behind the landfill. I knew it was there. I thought it was closed. That was what was told me, what I was told. And we walked back there for many, many years, hiked back there. There was really no problems except for materials that were on top of the landfill. There might have been stuff under the ground, but everything was contained. There was no runoff, there was no leachate that we saw. Then what happened was the DEP came in and they allowed Mr. Bernardi to take over the landfill. And a critical piece of that was you guys giving the waiver to Mr. Bernardi in order to do the work that's been done up there, which has affected the health and lives of 23,000 people. Today, we got word that we submitted a petition to the ATDSR about the health effects that people in Roxbury have been having over the last 16 months. And they accepted our petition. And they'll be coming in and doing a study of all those health effects for the people, such as Maureen and members of my group and members, kids and residents, because the health effects are numerous and could be long lasting. We don't really know because not much testing has been done up there in the last 16 months. The ATDSR said it was a health hazard. That's their exact words. And they're going to finally study it. The township didn't call for the ATDSR. The NJDOH, even after thousands of emails and phone calls, did not do that as well. It was the people who did that. And I beg of you to reconsider and help us to rectify this wrong that has been done to the people of Roxbury. They didn't ask for this, but they're suffering through this on a daily basis. And the NJDEP is not listening to the residents and what they want, which is to get this material out of there, because we don't want to suffer for the next 20 years. We don't want the environment to suffer for the next 20 years. There's some serious stuff up there. The DEP won't even allow the township to come in there and test the material that is in there. Why is that? I don't know. I would suspect that there is something really bad in there that needs to come out. And we're not going to see those effects on the environment and in the Highlands region for maybe a couple more years. So we need to stop this now. get the testing done on this landfill, find out what's in there, and then get it out. Because if you don't know what's in there first, we can't really know what to do with it next and where to bring it. So I beg of you as a council, please help out Roxbury. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Can I say one other thing, please? I know some people were allowed to come up twice. It's like 2 sentences.
2 sentences.
Thank you very much.
Not for you.
I just want to make sure that Brenda Isherwood, Stuckason, Roxbury Township, New Jersey. I just want to make sure that the gentlemen that are not present get that paper, and I'm not quite sure why a couple of gentlemen had to leave. I'm sure that probably happened.
I believe it's church service.
But yeah, right, okay, thank you, that's wonderful. And also, just that they're saying our township isn't backing us up, it appears. That's the appearance that we get. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. The residents, 98% of them want it trucked out. It can be trucked out. It's been proven that it can be trucked out safely. And I just beg of you to please do whatever you can to rectify this.
Thank you.
you.
Looks like, yes.
Hi, my name is Marian Emery. I live at 3 Canal Street in Ledgewood. I'm also suffering health effects from Fenimore. I've developed very bad asthma. I've been in the hospital 3 times from it. I'm on 3 inhalers a day because of it. I have to wear a gas mask in my own house to walk around my house. I have to wear a gas mask. And if I don't wear a gas mask, I have to be in my bedroom with my door closed with an air purifier because the gases make me so sick that I go into an asthma attack. It got to the point where I have a nebulizer at home now. And the only way I have any relief is if I go and I stay at a friend's house, which I cannot do all the time because of my work. I cannot continue to live like this. I have parents that are sick that cannot live like this. My family has lived in Roxbury since the 1700s. And I am not going to continue to live like this. Somebody has got to help us. I wake up to go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning, and to get out of Roxbury, I have to drive out wearing a gas mask. An H2S mask. I have to drive out wearing one of them onto the highway until I reach the border of Roxbury and Randolph, and then I can finally take it off. I have people staring at me through the car windows because of this. I can spend no time with my family because I'm not shut up in my room. And when I'm not shut up in my room, I have a gas mask on, so how can I talk to anybody? I've been taken out of work in an asthma attack to the hospital. Somebody needs to do something. This stuff has got to get taken out. We did not ask for this, and they brought it in. We are asking for it to get taken out. So please help us get it taken out. Thank you.
Anyone else would like to speak? Just like to say, on behalf of myself and all the council members, I can assure you, we are listening to you. We understand the severity of the situation, the impact that it has on your community, on your personal lives. Here in Chester, like many of you, I've lived here nearly all of my life. We had Comeville South that ended up becoming a Superfund site and was ultimately capped. It's 1,200 feet from my place. And I was a council member when it was all coming down. And right now, we're finishing a water line that is one of the final steps of this giant remediation process. So I understand, and I know all of us here certainly are empathetic to your situation. What we can do as a council and what the law allows us to do may not be what we all personally want to do. We knew that you were coming today. We asked our staff to do some preliminary research so that we at least give you some sense of what we believe we can and can't do, and I'd like to refer to our counselor first, if that's all right with you.
That's what I was going to
Yes,
ask.
and so if you would, please.
Okay, Vice Chairman Alsted, we have received a few letters on this topic. We responded to those letters. Some of the concerns that were raised here were raised in the letters. The council in 2011 designated an area, the Fenimore landfill, for redevelopment contingent upon adequate remediation and final closure, which is under the jurisdiction of the DEP. So at that point in time, all that did was make this property eligible for exemption number 15, but it was subject to the ultimate approval and closure of the DEP. So the technical remediation standards are really within the jurisdiction of the DEP and not of the Highlands Council. So that's pretty much the status.
If I could just ask you a question, because it's never been asked of us before, do we have the authority to rescind a granted redevelopment area? And if so, what are the criteria to do so? Is it addressed anywhere?
I'd rather not look into that rather than give you off-the-cuff remark, but I can certainly look into that if you'd like me to, if the council would like us to.
I'm sure that's something council members would want to hear the report back on.
We've been discussing this evening, sending a letter to the legislature supporting the dual appraisal. Is there any possibility that we could send a letter to the DEP saying that, please do something about it? I will tell the people from Roxbury that when this came up a couple of years ago, we voted on this. I apologize. I voted yes, because it sounded like a great plan. It was presented to us that it was going to clean up the area, and I should have listened to Wilma. Wilma is sitting out there, Wilma Fry. She said that leave it alone, leave it just the way it is. But we never knew it would turn out this way, and it's really, I see people with tears in their eyes all throughout the whole audience out there, and it is a terrible situation, and they need to do something about it. And if we can't do anything about it as a council, we should do something as individuals. But I hope that we can send a letter to the DEP, the governor, the legislature, do something about it. These people are suffering. It's just a terrible situation. And if they're going to go in there and they're going to test the people for any kind of health issues, which we're hearing tonight that people are having, and if that's proven beyond a doubt that there's health issues, and if the state doesn't do anything about it, we're in a bad state.
Here.
Technically, it's not a redevelopment area, because was it ever approved by the DEP?
This council designated the area as redevelopment.
We can't rescind something that didn't happen.
No.
We
You
designated
did
the boundaries, then it was up to the DEP to grant the exemptions with the waiver.
Did they? At that point, question is, was it ever granted? If it was never granted, then it's not an area of redevelopment yet. I mean, we can certainly address that issue, but until we actually know what occurred, we can say to them, yeah, well, we rethought this and we want to make sure that no exemption be approved at this time. We can certainly say that, because if I understood you correctly, part of the condition was that it be approved, correct?
In the context of the approval of the redevelopment area was at the time a solar energy facility was contemplated, but that would only be after landfill was appropriately closed and capped. And so for that purpose, that was the purpose that the council considered.
Well, it's not our other
redevelopment.
frustration with the DEP. I mean, it's just, we just have to know the details, and they have to tell us the details.
Well, I think that.
And only they can tell us that.
I think we've been working on a 30-day clock on a number of issues, and I think that ultimately this is going to be a 30-day clock. We're going to need to do some research. We've got to dig in and look back into the resolution that approved the redevelopment, explore a little bit exactly what the DEP has done, and also explore what our authorities are, whether you can rescind a redevelopment area. If we do, what does it really, what does it mean? What does that trigger?
Maybe they should come and testify to what this is all about.
Be available for the next week.
I think we're going to task our council. We've just delayed regional master plan for 30 days, so now we've got something to work on for 30 days, essentially. So I think that, I think it'd be fair to say on behalf of the council, we will direct our staff to do the appropriate research, and that for the next meeting, we will place this on the agenda and have a basis for giving you a response. Right now, any response we give you would really be uninformed. That's correct. And so we do need some time to let the staff dig into this and do a little research. So you have that commitment from us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other council members? Okay, then we're going to close the public portion of the meeting, and I believe we're going into executive session, right? So we'll be calling back to
Right, so this is, the room's not closed yet, I'm gonna read this